Now from the LC Storm Center, here is Chief Forecaster Will Stafford.
Very active week this week all across the area with numerous tornadoes, especially down along and westward of the Blue Ridge. An F3 tornado actually touched down in Washington County earlier this week, producing numerous damage there. 8 people actually died in that storm. That storm, once in about 40 years, they say that one of those storms actually comes on through. All have since slid on out of the area, and we are going to be left with a fairly decent week. Late week this week. 78 on the day on Monday. We'll expect to see partly sunny skies, maybe a storm in the afternoon. Tuesday night into Wednesday, actually the heaviest activity comes through. We'll drop down to 44. We think it'll mostly be a cool rain and then clearing out for Wednesday afternoon. Also considerably cooler behind it. 39 possible on Wednesday night, and then 67 on the day on Thursday, 67 for the day on Friday, and we'll also see a very nice week. I'm Chief Forecaster Will Stafford of the INLC Storm Center. We are seeing some high and thin clouds. These are producing hazy skies across the area right now. Most of the rain is well down along to the south of us. Some heavier and thicker clouds back out towards the west. These are going to start to slide down as we head late week into the week, and those might actually produce a little bit of shower activity. Why, you may ask? Well, we have warm, moist air coming out of the Gulf of Mexico and a pretty potent low pressure system coming off the Rockies and a very strong upper level jet. When the two collide, we could see some storms popping in the afternoon hours. Some of these storms could contain some high winds and some pretty large hail, damaging winds in excess of 60 miles per hour. We do think they'll be confined to the afternoon, however. A 30 to 40% chance of these storms all week long, and that chance will actually upgrade as we head into the weekend, possibly upwards of 60 to 70% by the time we get into Saturday. Currently outside at 63 into Lynchburg, at 67 at Danville, 64. Actually out into Farmville, 69 in towards Roanoke. A little bit cooler up towards Hot Springs at 57. Beckley checking in at the current hour at 62 degrees. Overnight tonight we'll drop down to about 50 degrees, partly cloudy, calm skies, a little bit of haze going away though as we head later into the evening hours of tonight. Mid to upper 70s as we head into the day tomorrow. Sun and clouds. It'll be some seasonable, very seasonable weather actually for much of the area. Now as we head into the 7-day, this is when you need to pay attention. 78 on the day on Tuesday, 76 on the day on Wednesday, 79 on the day on Friday, mid 80s on the day on Saturday, and we could upgrade that chance to about a 70% chance by the time we get in towards the weekend. It's not going to rain all the time, but it is going to provide a decent shot of getting wet at any one point during the day. Well, Sunday was a typical transition day in weather when we saw dry conditions Sunday morning quickly deteriorating throughout the day. Rain showers developed by Sunday afternoon, and Sunday night we saw a steady rain. Also, you'll notice very much cooler this week than last week. Temperatures last week were in the upper 80s to lower 90s, while lows were down into the 50s and 60s. What actually causes this phenomenon is called radiational cooling, when during the day you have clear skies with a southerly wind, bumping temperatures into the 90s, while overnight skies remain clear, essentially allowing all the heat to escape into the atmosphere, and that's why our temperatures, as long as the dew point remains low enough, cooled off so dramatically last week. All right, everyone, let's start off by showing you a picture from the Avalon Pier Cam in Kill Devil Hills, North Carolina on the Outer Banks. Much calmer than just a few days ago when Hurricane Earl skimmed the coast. As of right now, there isn't really much on the radar to talk about. You can sort of see the remnants of Earl on the upper parts of the screen, but other than that, high and dry across the Middle Atlantic region. In fact, looking at several models over the next week, quiet and fairly comfortable are the only real big weather stories. A quick look at the tropics, nothing much out there. We were watching a wave coming off of Africa, but that has since dissipated. So back closer to home with the 7-day. Continue to be active out there. This season was expected to be fairly active. Thankfully, most of the storms have remained off the mainland. However, Bermuda hasn't been so lucky. Here's a look at the satellite. 2 storms out there right now. The one on the farthest side of the screen is Julia. She's going to spin harmlessly out to the open Atlantic. However, Igor here is going to skim Bermuda as a potent Category 2 storm, dumping tons of rain before racing off into the open Atlantic. However, back closer to home, though, we could use the rain, but won't get any this week anyway. In fact, won't even see seasonable temperatures this week, as we'll see another week of temps having no problem hitting 90 or above during the day, but cooling off quickly at night. So we'll continue to have temperature swings over the next few days of upwards of 30 degrees. Fall starts later this week, and for those of us, what actually caused the wicked weather was a historic low up around Minnesota. To give you an idea of how potent the system was, the system's pressure was recorded at 28.5. We didn't have a hurricane in the Atlantic Basin this year with a pressure that low, so the system definitely had the juice with it. On the backside of the system in North Dakota, they had a full-fledged blizzard in the past week. And of course, we in the moist air mass had all the severe weather, and it wasn't just us. Many areas up and down the mid-Atlantic had the same type of weather. Thankfully, this week, much calmer. And we're also going to see a warm-up by midweek into late week. Currently, high pressure system off to our northwest. A clockwise flow of high pressure funnels in the cooler air. However, by midweek, the high slides down to our south, positioning it to flow in some warmer air, which will warm our temperatures to near 70 by the day on Friday. Also, an update.
Now from the LC Storm Center, here is Chief Forecaster Will Stafford.
We're not going to get very warm this week at all. In fact, we'll be lucky to even break 40 between now and Thursday. Here's a look at some snowfall totals across the area. Lynchburg got about an inch of snow. The peaks of Otter over in Bedford County got the higher elevations got around 3 inches. Chatham and Pennsylvania County got about 2 inches. And the big winner was Hillsville and the rest of the New River Valley, upwards of 4 inches of the white stuff. The system we experienced over the past couple of days has been an Alberta Clipper. It gets its name from a low pressure system that forms in the Alberta province of Canada and then races down through the U.S. Clipper systems have very little moisture with them. So most of the time they run up against the mountains and wring out what's left of the moisture. The system on the western facing slopes. However, sometimes they do get enough moisture to make it over the eastern sides of the slopes and give us some snow, though generally not a lot. Meanwhile, this week, back closer to home, low pressure system near the time of taping, giving us a lot of rain over the area. Warm front just close enough to make this all rain. However, some of the higher elevations have reported some ice. For the most part, though, just liquid rain. After today, this cold front clears out, allowing the true Arctic air to steep down into the area, giving us the coolest air we've seen so far this year. So going out to those 8 a.m. exams this week, bundle up. It'll be brutally cold, especially with the wind that's going to be falling around out there as well. This is going to make it feel even colder outside. We're talking single digit to around 0-degree wind chills. So here's the 7-day Monday. On the maps, this is a very typical spring. You see down here near the Rio Grande, mid-90s for highs yesterday. 70s reached all the way up to Greensboro. Arctic type air still up to our north and around the Great Lakes. And that warm surge of air extends northward in through parts of the Midwest. Where the two air masses collide is where we're looking at the threat of severe weather. I show you this on the map because we could be seeing this type of weather, although probably not this intense on Monday night into Tuesday. Hail and gusty winds look to be the main threat. Here's a look at the surface map. The front coming off the Rockies into the Midwest, sparking storms. This again will move east on Monday night into Tuesday, sparking off some storms for us. Then once that clears on Tuesday afternoon, we turn cooler again, but remain very dry. A very early look at the Relay for Life forecast.